abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital. Always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel. Cayman's bigger, better network.
We ask our listeners and viewers to avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Live from Radio Cayman Studio.
This is For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Hear from your government officials, independents, and the opposition on issues that matter to you.
For the Record.
Engage in an open dialogue between residents and lawmakers.
With Orrett Connor.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is For the Record.
For the Record. 1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record. And now, your host, Orrett Connor.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. O land of soft, fresh breezes and verdant trees, so fair. Today is Monday, the 26th day of February 2024, right here in the beautiful Cayman Islands. We do hope and we trust that everyone had a restful, peaceful, enjoyable weekend. Those of you who are on the roads of the Cayman Islands, whether you're a pedestrian or cyclist, or if you're operating any type of motorized vehicle, we urge you to please, please, please be extremely cautious. Ensure that you observe the rules of the road. Also remember that the life that you save may just be your own. For those of you who are celebrating a birthday today, we want to wish you a happy birthday. Or if you celebrated one over the past few days, like Miss Tracy Rankin, we want to wish you a belated happy birthday as well. And to remind you that this segment of the For the Record birthday shoutouts brought to you by Coca-Cola. Proud to support your birthday shoutout. Coca-Cola available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Wholesalers. Accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. And by Superior Auto. Superior Auto. They keep your car in tune. Call 949-9570 or 525-957. 71. And of course, later on, we will be sharing the names of those persons who either celebrated a birthday a few days ago or those who are celebrating a birthday today, and even those who will be celebrating a birthday tomorrow, since we won't be on air until Wednesday after today. So again, we welcome you to the Pulse of the Nation, For the Record. And of course, I'm your host, Orrett Connor. Radio Cayman is your gateway to the movers and shakers of our nation. And occasionally, right here on For the Record, we delve into the pages of our history. We are, of course, live every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 7:30 a.m. until 10 a.m. At this point in time, there are phone lines that are open, 949-6990 and 925-3261, which is a WhatsApp number. Also, you can email me at talktooc@gmail.com. And to remind you that we are here to listen. Your voice matters, and we always want to hear from you. whenever that is possible. There are times when we do have guests in the studio and we are unable to entertain phone calls, but at the same time, we try to accommodate you by accepting WhatsApp messages, email messages that are related to the particular subject that is being discussed. If you have questions, we normally would encourage you to send them in via WhatsApp or by email as well. So, a birthday shout out. And of course, we also want to remind you that the beautiful radio voice of Miss Susan Watson is right there waiting to take your calls as well. And for those of you who have lost loved ones, we also want to extend our sincere condolences to you. We hope and we trust that your faith will help to carry you through these extremely challenging times, and that the memories of your loved ones will be a blessing to you. Those of you who are ill and are either at home or at a medical facility here in the Cayman Islands or overseas, we wish you a speedy recovery as well. I want to give a special shout out to Mr. George Shillette, and again to say we anticipate and look forward to his return in the next week or so as well. So looking at the birthdays shout out, the birthday shout outs, of course, brought to you by Coca-Cola, proud to support your birthday shout out, and Superior Auto. They keep your car in tune. We're looking at today, Miss Valda Scott celebrating her birthday. Janice Brown also celebrating her birthday. Nikki Foster Carter celebrating her birthday today as well. And we also advise that Miss Viola Brown, 102 years of age. We want to wish Miss Viola Brown a happy birthday as well. We have some other birthdays here that have been sent in to us this morning, and we're going to be looking at those. First, we have happy birthday wishes going out to McElroy Brian, who is 8 years old today, and birthday greetings are coming from his dad, Samuel Bryan, mom, Lisa, sisters, Parisi, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Samantha, brother Jav, and from his favorite aunt, Sangri, as well. I hope I pronounced those names well, correctly and didn't butcher them. Then we also have birthday greetings going out to Janella Edwards. May God grant her as many more as may God grant her as many more that he has ordained. Janelle's birthday was on the 25th of February, yesterday, 25th of February, and belated birthday greetings are going out to her from her husband, son, and the rest of the family. God bless you abundantly, Janella. Let's check to see more. Here we go. Have another one as well. Happy birthdays to my wife, Charlene Barnes. For tomorrow, Charlene Barnes will be celebrating her birthday tomorrow, and happy birthday greetings are coming in advance from your husband, Mr. Brian Barnes, as well. Miss Susan, you were giving me one? We also advised that Miss Laurel Watler will be 100 years of age tomorrow as well, and those birthday greetings are coming from Miss Patricia, Miss Pat Forbes as well. So Miss Laurel celebrating her birthday tomorrow as well. So again, we want to thank our sponsors for the record birthday shout-outs. Coca-Cola, proud to support your birthday shout out. Coca-Cola available across the Cayman Islands from Tortuga Wholesalers. You should accept no substitutes. Taste the feeling with Coca-Cola. Also, Superior Auto. They keep your car in tune. Call them at 949-9570 or 525-9571. We can now take a look at birthdays coming up as well. Miss Deborah Ebanks will be celebrating her birthday tomorrow, the 27th of February. So we want to wish her a happy birthday tomorrow when it comes. So advanced happy birthday greetings going out to Miss Deborah Ebanks as well. And of course, if you know someone who's celebrating a birthday or any other momentous occasion, let us know right here on Radio Cayman's For the Record, and we will give them a birthday shout-out, proudly sponsored by Coca-Cola and by Superior Auto as well. So yesterday we see Mr. Klein Glidden celebrated his birthday. Joseph Betty also celebrated his birthday, and Bev Brown celebrated a birthday yesterday as well. So, with that, we do have a guest in the studio this morning, and we know that you all get really excited when this guest is in the studio. I receive so many positive comments, about this particular guest, and of course there are many who are saying that he needs to record all of the things that he remembers. He needs to write a book as well. So it is my pleasure to welcome into the studio this morning none other than Dr. Steve McField. Doc, good morning. Welcome back to For the Record.
Good morning to Mr. For the Record, and good morning to all your friends in the For the Record land, and those who listen to you Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and those people who listen to you in the Cayman diaspora. It's good to be back with you again on another episode of your show. By the way, I was engaged last Friday. I was asked to speak, to give a lecture at the Heritage, so it's Heritage Insurance.
Okay, yeah.
And and I think it was live all over the Caribbean where Heritage have their offices. It was online.
Okay.
And I
I
was
wish
there.
I had known about it. I would have, tried to at least log in and
Yes,
listen.
I was there for 2 hours. It was I spoke about slavery and the connections between Cayman Islands and the UK, and the results of slavery, what happened after slavery, and so forth. And it was very good. I did a lot of research, and I found some things. I went to the archives, of course, and I found a lot of stuff. And then, out of the clear blue sky, my son called me a couple of nights ago, and he was speaking to me. He's been researching the McFields too.
Okay.
And he found some stuff that I didn't find. I was in the archives trying to find some stuff, and I was particularly interested in the two petitions that went in 1838 and 1840 to London to the microtrust people, when the microtrust people sent Andrew Malcolm, the first school teacher here, to put up a private school in Borden Town, and the ex-slave masters would not allow him to teach the black children and the white children together. And then he in disgust he left the island, and then a lot of the ex-slaves got a petition up and sent it off to ask them to send him back. And but they refused to send him back. He refused to come back, and as a result of that, the first Smart Tiger scheme through the Presbyterian Church as school teachers, and then the school teachers followed, Pantons and all of those other people followed to Cayman Islands. So it was very good. I can give you a copy of my presentation
Certainly.
so that
Yes.
you can have it. Yeah. But other than that, I have been okay. And I understand that there were some people trying to reach me on the weekend. Some of my friends trying to reach me on the weekend, and with your permission, I would like to say this to them.
Sure.
My phone went down. I'm trying to get it repaired. I have a new phone, but I had to take it in to get all the things on my old phone transferred. And it takes, they say, probably a whole day, 4 hours or 8 hours to transfer all the data and stuff. And so people can call me. I can see the message, but I can't call out.
Okay.
That's the problem that I have. But if anyone wants to get in touch with me, and it's very urgent, they can call the office number, which is 946-3020.
946-3020.
Steve McField Associates, 946-2030. And we're in Elizabethan Square. We're still in Elizabethan Square on the second floor.
Okay, excellent.
Yes, thank you.
Folks, we're going to take a commercial break. When we return, the conversation will continue. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
The Cayman Islands boasts of a long, colorful, and rich history. In tribute to our roots, Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands, is pleased to bring you the Historical Vignette Series, brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects. The Cayman Islands, he hath founded it upon the seas.
Captain Livingston Anderson, 1873-1944.
Captain Anderson was a well-known and successful ship owner and sea captain, one of the only black ship owners and master mariners in Cayman at the time. He owned the sloop Panama in the early 1900s and piled a regular cargo trade between Panama and San Blas Islands. He also raised cattle, ran a plantation, and raised horses for rental. He was well respected by all business owners in Cayman, a pioneer for black business ownership at the time when business ownership was heavily skewed along racial lines. He was married to the former Catherine L.V. Mackenzie, and the couple had 5 children.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
The Rotary Central Health Check, Saturday, March 2, 10 a.m. through 2 p.m. 5 locations: Costuless West Bay Road, A.L. Thompson's Georgetown, Savannah United Church Hall, Foster's Airport, and the East End Civic Center. Free blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, hemoglobin, mouth cancer screenings, healthy weight assessment, free medical consultations. Rotary Central, creating hope in the world.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have our very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
You don't need to be great to start, but you sure do need to start to be great. We've all been there. The little put when we try to start the car. Starters and alternators will eventually go. When life happens to your car, Superior Auto can save your day. Superior Auto offers complete starter and alternator repair. Superior Auto, 525-9571 or 949-9570. Superior Auto, they keep your car in tune.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained. Whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid, you will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
What's that? No sugar, same amazing taste? Coca-Cola Zero Sugar is here to stay. Classic taste, pure satisfaction. Be sure to stop into any Tortuga location and get your own case of Coke Zero. Or grab an ice-cold one straight from the cooler. Brought to you by Tortuga Distributors Limited. Coca-Cola, taste the feeling, K-Man.
This is For the Record.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It's my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning Dr. Steve McField. We have another birthday shout out here. Birthday greetings, actually belated birthday greetings going out to Mr. Berkeley Solomon from all of his family. Yesterday was his birthday. And of course, the person who has shared this with me also included the nickname of Mr. Berkeley Solomon. When we were young, everyone was assigned, a nickname. Yes. In this case, Mr. Berkeley Solomon was known as Dogwood. Mm-hmm. And, in most instances, you rarely call someone by their name.
That's right. Yes.
Did you have a nickname too, Doc?
No, but I was called Lemmy McField grandson.
Okay, so you were given a moniker.
Moniker. Yes, I was. So I didn't. Nobody calls me by that name by my real name until I was high up in the teens. And like when I went off the scene, came back, then I could assume my own name.
Okay. Now, earlier when we had the break, you were listening to the historical vignette, and that one had to do with Mr. Anderson, and you were telling me something off air, and I'd like you to share that with our audience this morning, Doc.
Yeah, I was telling you about the Captain Anderson. I didn't know what his ship was named. Now I know it was named the Panama. I was very young, probably 7 or 8 or 9. And I used to, my grandmother used to send me out to Mr. Bonner Russell's shop, which was on the corner, I would say midway on the corner, it was probably right across where the Royal Bank is now, on the other side of the street. Mm-hmm. I mean, on the other side of the street, where Nova Scotia Bank used to be. No, where across the Royal Bank on Chaden Road. And I had the opportunity to see Captain Anderson and Captain Henderson. Now, their properties were separated by the Little Zinc Road. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Captain Anderson's property was on the west side of the Little Zinc Road, and Captain Henderson's property was on the east side of the Little Zinc Road.
That would be where Elizabethan Square is now.
Yes. And Captain Anderson was where Anderson Square is now.
Yes.
And they would be sitting down there in Captain Anderson's house, beautiful white house with a veranda. And they would come in, and their boats would be out in the harbor. And they would be sitting on the porch, all dressed in their three-piece linen suits, white linen suits. Captain Anderson, everything was white with him. Shoes, tunic, white linen. And they had all these little... They had a board that they were playing a game on, but we know it wasn't checkers. But we saw all these little men on it, all these little things. We didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
And but now I knew it was chess. After many years, I knew they were playing chess. And they would be sitting there with their arms folded, looking at each other. And then someone would say, they come and say, "You hear what happened to Captain Anderson and Captain Henderson?" Say, "Captain Henderson got Captain Anderson blocking, he can't move." And people would be all up and he said, what happened to Captain Anderson? Captain Henderson saying, "Block him, got him blocked, can't move." And we would say, "Why they doing all day just watching each other?" They were trying to find a way out to play the game to win. And it was and I used to go down to Captain Anderson's place too, because they had a big, what they call a big battery. It was a huge house outside of their regular home where they sold coconuts.
Yeah, I remember that.
They sold coconuts and they sold flour and sugar and all those things. That was on the Elgin Avenue side.
Right, closer to Mr.
Closer to.
I'm trying to remember the tailor that was there, Mr. Sterling's.
Mr. Sterling's, yes.
House. And the Llewellyn, Miss Louise.
Miss Llewellyn's, yeah, that was that. And they sold things there too. You could go and buy coconuts there, because remember now, in those days, the coconuts, we had the coconut disease, and we didn't have the coconuts, and coconuts was the substitute where people take cook with instead of using lard and all that stuff. They grated the coconut, they used the oil, and they made oil from coconuts. And we used to go down there, and Captain Anderson had one of the most beautiful homes, and they had a big square, have a big gate, a picket fence and a big gate over this Anderson Square. And,
yes. It was sort of like curved.
Something like a curve, yes.
Curved sign on it, Anderson Square.
And I remember when his sons would come in on the ships with him, come from Panama, Saval and all of them, and they were dressed so, they were so neat.
Yes, yeah.
Dressed so neat. Me would say, "Jesus, look at those black men. They're so neat. They're not like us." But of course, they were very wealthy in those days. They were the rich black people in those days.
Yeah.
And then I noticed something else. They said he used to raise horses for rent. I didn't know that either. That was one of the things he did.
Okay.
He raised horses for rent for the carriages in those days.
Okay.
So we have a lot of history that our children need to know and need to learn. Certainly, my children and my grandchildren are learning the history of the Cayman, even though they're not living here.
That's good. Now, you mentioned the coconut, and I was reading an article the other day, and we see coconut water becoming extremely popular worldwide for health reasons. Of course, the commercialization of it and those greedy corporations and merchants who are looking to benefit from it, they're adding sugar and all of that to it. But I saw an article about high yield coconuts from places like Brazil.
Yes.
And I was thinking about asking the Minister for Agriculture or the Agriculture Department if they have ever considered importing those high-yield coconuts, because right now those persons who sell coconuts either at the farmers market or on the waterfront or whatever, they have to rely on the local stock and people's generosity to either give them to them or maybe sell them at $1, $2 or whatever, and whether or not we should look into the high-yield coconut. Now, we know that there is always this reluctance because of diseases and stuff like that. But then the Agriculture Department has the ability, or should have, if not, they would have access who, could do that. But it's something that we should look at, high-yield coconuts. Top of the hour, 8 o'clock news. Folks, when we return, conversation with Dr. Steve McField will continue. We'll talk about Parliament beginning today, as well as we will talk about the UK and what sort of trouble Speaker Hoyle is in the UK as Speaker as well. Please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back immediately after the 8 o'clock news.
Thank you, Mr. Connor. And studio time by Foster's is 8 o'clock.
What you got for lunch?
I'm having crispy edge pot stickers and some evolved keto cups for dessert.
And what's in the glass?
Aquabucha. Basically kombucha-infused sparkling water.
Ugh, all I have is bologna on dry bread. Where do you get this fancy stuff?
It's all from Foster's, Camana Bay, in the Foster's Fine section, aisle 8.
All this at Foster's?
Yep, with new specialty items each month. You can even visit fosters.ky/finds to discover something new.
Trade ya.
Foster's, better selection because we care.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
For today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Island.
With your latest news, I'm Carsley Fuller. Police are investigating a mass shooting in West Bay. As of 11 p.m. Sunday night, 7 people were in the hospital getting treated for, quote, serious injuries, but in stable condition. This after reports of shots fired at a West Bay football match at McField, just outside the changing rooms around 9 p.m. The Royal Cayman Islands Police Service tells Radio Cayman further updates are expected this morning. As of Sunday night, no arrests had been made. The last mass shooting in the Cayman Islands happened back in 2021, when on July 1st, one person was gunned down in a late-night attack that also saw 3 others injured. A week later, 5 people were shot and another person killed in Georgetown. As lawmakers head to the House today for the newest parliamentary session, West Bay West MP the Honourable Makiba Bush is expected to head back to Grand Court for the continuation of his indecent assault trial. The former Premier and Speaker of the House is facing 2 counts of indecent assault and common assault in the alternative in relation to an incident involving 2 women at a tourism event back in September 2022. The jury hearing the case heard cross-examination of one of the alleged victims on Friday before the prosecution wrapped up for the day with a reading of agreed facts and written statements from several people, including the deputy governor. The case is expected to resume later today. And the final push is on for residents who signed up for a regional nutrition study. CIGTV's Simon Boxall reports.
The survey, which was aimed at participants ages 14 to 49, gathers information on what people have eaten over the course of the weekdays and one weekend day. Hannah Jones, registered dietitian and doctoral candidate at the Department of Population Health Sciences at Newcastle University, is conducting research on the dietary habits of residents in Bermuda, the Cayman Islands, the Falkland Islands, Gibraltar, and Turks and Caicos Islands in order to better understand the unique and diverse dietary practices and needs of the selected British overseas territories. She shared with CIGTV via video what motivated her to undertake this survey.
Typically, health and nutrition policies are based upon the best available evidence. Often that's US, UK, Australia, Canada, research studies or evidence. And that might not actually reflect the needs of the populations in the different overseas territories. Our demographics, our food supply, our cost of living, our lifestyles, they're all very different than in those other places. And so policymakers are forced to make a lot of decisions based on the evidence that's available, but that might not be representative of our local communities. Completely anonymised results of the surveys will be analysed and written up, and they'll be used to produce a report specifically for the Cayman Islands.
Questions about the survey should be directed to Hannah Jones, and you can email her at h.jones19@newcastle.ac.uk.
Now with a check of international news, here's the BBC, which takes us out of the newscast. I'm Carsley Fuller.
BBC News with Fiona MacDonald. Inaugurating a session of the UN's Human Rights Council in Geneva, the United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has said nothing justified what he called the collective punishment of the Palestinian people in Gaza. Mr. Guterres accused member states of turning a blind eye to international law, the Geneva Conventions and even the United Nations Charter. The Palestinian government, which administers parts of the Israeli-occupied West Bank, has submitted its resignation to the President Mahmoud Abbas. Mr. Abbas has come under growing pressure to shake up the unpopular Palestinian Authority. Security sources say Israel has carried out airstrikes near the city of Baalbek in eastern Lebanon, which killed at least 2 Hezbollah fighters. Police in the Belgian capital Brussels have fired water cannon at burning tyres as protesting farmers drove their tractors into the heart of the city. They're angry at low food prices, cheap imports and new EU environmental measures. Russia says its troops have now captured a Ukrainian village near the eastern town of Avdiivka. Ukraine's military confirmed that it had retreated from the village of Lastochkina. BBC News.
The 8 a.m. news is brought to you by ValueMed Pharmacy. Save time and order your prescription refills online at value-medpharmacy.com. VALU-medpharmacy.com.
You don't sound too good there, Bobo.
Yeah, you know how it is. With the kids back in school, every other week they come in out with something, and then I catch it.
Sound like it catch you. But for real, brother, flu season is here and COVID is still around. You gotta stock up on things like medicine, vitamins, and minerals for you and the kids. You know what they say, prevention is better than cure.
At ValueMed, our pharmacists can help manage flu symptoms and provide guidance on vitamins and minerals to best support you and your family's overall health. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Town, or WhatsApp your questions and prescription refills to ValueMed on Walkers Road at 926-1662 or WhatsApp ValueMed in Town at 916-5511. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman with the latest up-to-date, accurate news and information. For your convenience, the headline news will be repeated on our sister station, Breeze 105.3 FM, weekdays at 8:30 a.m. Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or download the Radio Cayman app in the App Store or log on to www.radiocayman.gov.ky and stay connected to what's happening in the community. Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go and flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Fusion. 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Radio Cayman. Biggest variety in the morning. Biggest variety. RC Fusion. Following the 10 a.m. news headline. Biggest variety in the morning.
Radio Cayman. The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Britcay, where people come first.
Good morning. Let's take a look at the latest weather report. Current temperature is 73 degrees. Relative humidity is 81%. The barometric pressure is 30.08 inches and rising. The wind is out of the north-northeast at 2 knots. Overnight low temperature was 68 degrees. Synopsis indicate light and variable winds and slight seas are expected across the Cayman area for the next 24 hours as the cold front weakens and dissipates as it becomes stationary east of the Cayman area. Satellite images show low-level clouds across the northwest Caribbean. Now, the forecast for today and tonight is calling for partly cloudy skies with a 20% chance of showers. Temperatures today will be in the upper 80s and will fall to the low 70s tonight. Winds will be east at 5 to 10 knots and seas will be slight with wave heights of 1 to 3 feet. Today's high tide will occur this morning at 10:18, low tide this afternoon at 4:31, and a high tide again tonight at 10:51. The sun will set this evening at 6:28 and will rise tomorrow morning at 6:47. And the outlook is calling for similar weather conditions through Wednesday morning.
Take some advice from your Aunt Angie. If you want to go scuba diving on your vacation, don't bedazzle your wetsuit. And you think you look great, but what you don't realize is that you look like a shiny, scaly fish. And it won't take long for a shark to notice you. Next thing you know, you're busting out every karate move you got. But if you're smart, you'll have CG medical insurance and get airlifted out to the closest hospital.
Get coverage for emergency evacuations. CG Brit K. Good like that. All benefits are subject to policy provisions, including eligibility at the time of service.
The 8 a.m. weather report brought to you by CG Brit K, where people come first.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Good morning. Let's see how your traffic is shaping up. Linford Pearson Highway traffic is steady traffic as well. On Cool Road heading to Georgetown and steady but flowing traffic coming off of Bobby Thompson Way. Agnes Way, moderate flow of traffic. As we turn our eyes to the Esterly Tibbetts Highway, traffic is steady coming off of there and continuing on to North Sound Road. Industrial Park area, moderate flow of traffic. On the West Bay Road in front of the Ritz, traffic is moderate in both directions, as well as coming from the West Bay four-way stop. Owen Roberts Drive, light to moderate traffic flow. Heading east on Cool Road, traffic is moderate. And if you see any accidents or incidents, please give us a call here at Radio Cayman, 949-6990. That's the very latest on your traffic. Join us again at about 10 minutes after 12. We'll give you another look at traffic.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips for all occasions and celebrations. Let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
Every day, thousands of residents use our roads, and every journey requires responsibility. Our actions behind the wheel can have serious consequences. So let's make a commitment to safety. The Cayman Islands government invites you to take the Safe Drivers Pledge. The pledge is our opportunity to show our dedication to creating a safer environment on our roads. First, visit gov.ky/road safety/pledge. Read and check all the boxes, fill in your name, and click submit. It's that easy. Let's make our roads safer together and say no more for 2024. Visit www.gov.ky/road safety for more information and to take the pledge.
The traffic report is brought to you by Subway. Enjoy a delicious start to your day with breakfast from Subway.
Water Authority is empowering the future and building a legacy in STEM through its annual scholarship program. Applications are now open for the scholarship, valued at up to $40,000, for a student pursuing an undergraduate academic or technical vocational degree or diploma in a STEM subject relevant to the Authority's work. The deadline to apply is February 29th, 2024. Visit www.waterauthority.ky to apply today.
For the record, with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, none other than Dr. Steve McField. So today, Doc, our Parliament resumes, and I see where there is an indication that there are several bills that will be going to Parliament as well, and the the mention was made. I'm almost certain that. Let me find it here. Yep, it says that. So this is the third meeting of the 2023-2024 session, and they will include bills that were deferred from the last meeting of the House of Parliament, namely the Consumer Protection and Guarantees Bill 2023, Civil Proceedings, Closed Material Procedures Bill 2023, and the Merchant Shipping Bill 2023, in addition to the Local Companies Control Amendment Bill 2023, which was gazetted on the 15th of December 2023 as well. I believe that you're familiar with the Consumer Protection and Guarantees Bill. You may have done some work with that with MP Chris Saunders, and I'm not sure if you can explain to us what the Closed Material Procedures Bill is all about as well, if you could indulge us.
I'm not familiar with that bill. I'm
Okay.
familiar with the Consumer Protection Bill. What they were asking me to assist them with was the Consumer Credit Bill.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted something similar to the Consumer Credit Act 1965, in England, that has now been amended and updated, which gives the people who have mortgages with banks and other lenders some more security from forfeiture of their mortgages and from forfeiture from their mortgages. As it is now, an institution can just take your property without more if you have exceeded the equity of the period to redeem the mortgages in Cayman. Sometimes they don't have to go to court even to take your land, to take your property. Well, in England, there's a procedure that the law allows the courts to intervene and gives you some time to sort your financial problems out. If the problem is lack of finances, for instance, if you were married and you're now separated or divorced, or if you were ill and cannot pay the mortgage, the monthly mortgage amount, the courts can adjust that for you, so that you pay an amount that you can pay, instead of having the institution just take your property and sell it, and so forth. And then there's a guarantee that you should get the equity in your property that you have in it. In other words, they can't sell for what they can get for it, because that's what happens here most of the times.
Yes.
People here, there's a fire sale, and they'll wait until when the price come down. And usually the institution lawyers will go to court and says, well, we can't get the reserve price, the price that was reserved to sell for, and they'll ask the court to reduce that, and they keep reducing until it meets some buyer's offer, and then they sell it for that. And then, for instance, if your house was worth $500,000 and the reserve price was $500,000, and then they couldn't get that for it, they put it down to $450,000, and then it's come down to $400,000. Then someone has $300,000. Usually, they will sell it for $300,000, and then you owe the bank the balance of money in it, and then the bank will come after you to recover that money too. Sometimes, or the institution will come after you to recover that money, and that has always become an advantage to the person who owns the property. And so, in England, they have an adjustment for that you can't do that. That you go to court, the court can give you relief, and sometimes the court can even in England rewrite the mortgage if they think the mortgage is an unjust mortgage and is predatory. They can rewrite the terms of it, and that's what they were asking me to assist them with. And they were trying to get in touch with me over the weekend, but of course I couldn't get back to them because I couldn't call up back to them. I hope that they can come and try to see me, and at in my official capacity as lawyer. Anyway, so that's what we don't have in Cayman. We have an act, most of the Sale of Goods Act. Sale of Goods Act, that's old Sale of Goods Act that that says that mostly says that good has to be the things that you buy has to be satisfactory and appropriate for the consideration that you pay for it. But that doesn't usually happen. Another thing that we need here is a modern landlord and tenants law, and I don't know. I haven't seen anyone who's prepared to put that in. But with all of the rental properties now and the landlords who are absentee landlords, you're going to need some sort of modern landlord and tenants law to protect both parties, protect both the landowner and the tenant who rents who the renter. But what I don't see coming in this session of Parliament. Of our Parliament is the debate on the Electoral Boundary Commission report that we presented to the Parliament last July, and we also presented a copy to the governor. Now the governor cannot do anything about anything on any recommendation that we made in it because it has to be a debate in Parliament first.
So they would. They would have to table that report.
Yeah, they have to table it, and then they have to debate it.
Right.
And then they have to accept or reject their recommendations. Yes. And I thought that it's time that they do that because I think there were some people who were thinking that some of those recommendations should come into force before the election in next May. And there's still time to have them to get those some of those amendments and some of those recommendations that we made to the one man one vote to the man one vote single member constituencies system. But I don't see it, and that's very, very important because you cannot keep kicking the can down the road. Because the same thing is going to happen in the next 7 years from now because. It's 8 years. 1 year has already gone nearly since the Boundary Commission.
Now, wouldn't that be included in the motion? So it may not necessarily. Could possibly show up on the order paper as they prepare the order paper for each one.
I hope
because that would be more of a government motion as opposed to because it wouldn't be a bill at this.
No, it would be a government motion.
So
and would be a government motion for debate on that, and it's very important that we do that because the democracy, the democratic institutions in the country is more important than people who actually engage in them, and so. The problem is that we need to get all of these things done so that we can put our house in order. I thought it could have been done, like I said, before the next election in next May, because some of the recommendation that we made calls for amendments to the Constitution, and one of the questions that I'm interested in as one of the commissioners in the report is whether or not there needs to be an amendment to the Constitution, a formal amendment through the administering country, or whether it's going to be a minor amendment through our legislature. Those are some of the things that comes out of the report. In other words, whether or not we have to go to referendum it's made so major we have to go to referendum, or whether they are minor that the legislature can just make a resolution in the legislature and make the amendments themselves. I think that's very important to know. And you'll not know until the debate happens in the legislature, and something is important that not to debate it as soon as they got the report. I thought that was that was not in a good position, not a good thing to do.
And of course we know in our constitution that the only specific issue that the Constitution speaks to that has to be decided by the people through a referendum is a question of independence.
That's right.
Other than that, like you said, the UK and the Cayman Islands government can decide or agree upon whether or not it is a matter of national importance that requires referendum to be held, or whether or not it can be something that can be agreed to and debated and in Parliament and carried there.
Yes, because one of the obstacles that the Boundary Commission ran into is the fact that we are growing so fast, population-wise, and that growth is to the east of the island, from Braid Bay all the way up to Bordentown area, Bordentown East. And bearing in mind that the international standards set for single-member constituencies, that one constituency should not be 10% more or less of the other.
Should be within that range.
In that range. And then you have some constituencies that are 60% more than the next, 70% more than the next. But the our Constitution says in sections 90 says that you cannot go over traditional boundaries, district boundaries, to extend the district further. You have to deal with what's within the district and keep manipulating it. And sometimes in an election, one year you might be voting here, and the next election might be voting someplace else. And if you keep going in that circle, sometimes you're going to run into the position where you have no more space, and then you got to go outside the electoral boundaries, and whether or not that part of the Constitution has to be looked at again. Like Lord Sanka said, the Constitution is like a living tree.
Exactly.
Sometimes branches have to be cut off, and so not the branches can sprout, can grow, and that is one of the things that we want to know. If we can, if an amendment can come to the Constitution where we can, for instance, extend Bordentown boundary further east or further north. Because what separates that boundary now is the boundary between Bordentown and North Side, and between Bordentown and East End. The boundary's there, but we can't go any further. We have to manipulate what's inside there, and that's a problem that they're going to have to face now. They should rectify that now instead of having to face it next year, next 7 years from now again.
Okay, we're going to take a commercial break, and we're going to stay with this topic a little bit. We want to talk also a little bit. We hear more and more persons criticizing the one person, one vote situation, as well as the single member constituencies.
Yes.
Right? And they seem to conflate the whole issue because they feel that one cannot operate without the other, which is incorrect.
Yes, right. That's right.
Some persons have been extremely vocal about the issue of a national vote in some instances. And I believe that, personally, if we wanted to go in that direction, like you said, the Constitution is a living thing. So to a certain extent, our laws, because we would have to incorporate it into our election law as well. But we could start off weaning the electorate towards a system that they feel that they want to accept by having, let's say, a certain number of seats that would be
Voted
considered
at
at large.
That's right.
And you get the national vote. You get your vote for your constituency representative, and at the same time, you get the opportunity to vote for at-large candidates as well. We're going to take a commercial break. When we return, we will talk about that. We welcome feedback from our listeners. If they want to call in or if they want to send a WhatsApp message in regard to their views on that, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
So much happening so fast, too much. It is hard for me to follow my health care instructions. The private counseling with West Bay Pharmacy literally saved my life.
At West Bay Pharmacy, we know how complex medications can be. Our pharmacists are delighted to offer you personalized one-on-one healthcare counseling, free medication review, therapeutic callbacks, and we will liaise with your physician to ensure you receive the best in quality medical care.
Quality of life has a whole new meaning with the right pharmacy to support you. Thank you, West Bay Pharmacy.
West Bay Pharmacy in Centennial Towers. Convenient quality care is just around the corner. Now you can WhatsApp your West Bay Pharmacy prescriptions to 516-0777.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
At Branso's Home Gallery, we believe in love at first sight, especially when it comes to closets. And we're spreading the love by offering 15% off on custom closets throughout the month of February. Let our experts design the closet you've been dreaming of, a functional space that's perfect for you. Save 15% on all custom closets this February at Brand Source Custom Closets. You dream it, we'll design it and build it. Visit Ranso's Home Gallery today for a free in-store consultation. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Phone 623-6774.
You asked, and we listened. The Water Authority's new customer portal is here. The new and improved platform lets you manage your account easily and more independently from a user-friendly design. With the new customer portal, you can view and pay your bill online, schedule bill payments, make payments on multiple accounts at one time, manage tenant and landlord accounts, view your consumption history, make service requests, and so much more. The service is also available to tenant accounts. Visit www.waterauthority.ky to sign up today.
This is For the Record.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McField. So, Doc, before we went to the break, I was talking about the fact that we may want to look at taking some gradual steps towards constitutional change when it comes to voting. Many people, I shouldn't say many, some people are skeptical about the one person, one vote.
Yes.
They blame the situation that we have in terms of single member constituencies on one person or one vote concept. But we could have ended up with multiple district seats. Georgetown could have had its 5 or 6 seats, but you would have and still retain or implement the one person, one vote system, which means that you would then get even less persons possibly getting maybe, or you would get a person receiving less votes and still being elected, successfully elected as well. So the fact that we ended up with single-member constituencies and one person, one vote was at least to get those numbers up, even though people have pointed out now that you can get 200 and odd votes and be successful depending on how many candidates are running. But the whole idea of at-large districts, we hear people talk about, well, we want to be able to elect our premier. Well, that's certainly not possible under the current situation. And even if we were to have at-large districts, that wouldn't be possible as well, because we know our Constitution makes provisions for us to how the premier is chosen as well. So I'd like your feedback on that, because there are small jurisdictions that we in the Cayman Islands feel that in a way are not as advanced as we are, but at the same time they have adopted the at-large seats and voting in their system as well, and it works quite well. They have no problems with it. We look at the British Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos, I believe, was looking to implement it as well, but several countries.
Yes, and as you said during the break, we could organize it the same way we organized the referendum. You remember the referendum for the one-man one-vote system? You would vote for the single-member constituencies and a one ballot, and then you'd vote for the at-large candidates on another ballot, and that would go in separate box. But you would vote to them. And what that would do to Mr. For the record, it would probably alleviate the need for having to expand district boundaries.
Yes.
And you wouldn't have to worry about that again. Say, for instance, if you could vote for 6 candidates at large, say 6 candidates all over the from whatever district you want, or 6 candidates from Georgetown, or 3 candidates from West Bay, or 2 candidates from West Bay, 2 candidates from Georgetown, 1 from Bontown, or whatever, and everyone in the island could vote for them. That's what an at-large vote means. Everyone in the island could vote for those people. Doesn't matter where you live in East End, North Side, Bontown, you could vote for them. You would have a national vote for them. That could work. And that doesn't take long to put into place either. It would only take an amendment to the election law. But with that, what I would like to see, if that came, I would like to see also some degree, some restraint on the amount of money that you could raise in an election. There should be some election financial restraints.
Okay.
Right now, it's at large. You only have to report the money that you take in or that you spend between nomination day and election day, which is 6 weeks. But all the other times, you can take as much money you want and spend it, but you don't have to report it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that we need to do something about is people from outside of the country, people who are not Caymanians, donating money in the local election. That is not good. And a lot of countries have legislation against that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is reporting the amount of money that you receive from people and who you receive it from. That needs to be legislated, because you could be obtaining are receiving a lot of money from foreign investors, and they will then have an influence in how the country develops.
Yep.
And that is not so good. And that is something that I'm worried that it's still a runaway. It's still a runaway horse, and we ought to close that gate before it gets bad.
I think there's some indication from the government that that's one of the issues that they're going to be addressing.
I hope so
as well. Okay, well, what we're going to do is we're going to provide some information to our listeners in relation to at-large voting, what it is, and stuff. This is coming from the NAACP's Legal Defense and Educational Fund. They're located, their New York office, located on 40 Rector Street on the 5th floor. What is at-large voting? And it says, under at-large voting, all voters can cast their ballots for all candidates in the jurisdiction. And then they pointed out to particular city council elections. For example, all voters cast their ballots for 5 positions, with the top 5 candidates who received the most votes citywide winning seats, in that particular city council. So like we said before, those people who are complaining, well, I used to have 5 votes in Georgetown and I now only have 1, here's an opportunity for you to at least get some of that back partially by having the at-large voting, because let's say if you have in our parliament now, we have the 19 seats.
Yes.
And the opportunity, of course, there we could add additional seats because you have the 19 constituencies.
Yes, we made recommendations for addition.
Right, and so if you said add 5 at-large seats, you increase the number to 24, or you may want to have an odd number,
or leave it at 21.
Whatever, and they get the opportunity to vote for those. Now we know. Again, people are going to criticize if you seek to increase the size of our legislature.
Too drastically,
But if you talk to former parliamentarian, Mr. Arden McLean, he will tell you that based on the ratio that the Constitution speaks to in terms of the number of ministers in relation to the numbers in Parliament, that we are in breach of that now.
Yes, we're in breach of that
we're
now.
in breach of that formula and ratio at this point in time as well. We know that people believe that our members of Parliament are paid too much money as it stands now. If we were to add additional at-large seats and say to them, well, we want to reduce your salary, that's not going to fly. But we have to prepare. We have to be prepared. But then who said that democracy came cheap?
Exactly.
Democracy
does not come cheap.
It doesn't come cheap at all.
Yes.
So, go ahead.
It's like I said, when we were saying that we have to add maybe a few seats to the one or maybe more seats. One or more seats to the legislative system as it is now, to the parliament as it is now. People were saying, "Oh well, that's going to cost us more money for the salaries and the office that they're going to need to have to function as parliamentarians." And I have said this in high places and in low places. Democracy does not operate according to how much money you have in your pocket. That is not how democracy operates. Democracy has a set of rules. Either you obey them and you become democratic, or you don't obey them and you're undemocratic. It doesn't care about how much money you have in your pocket that you can spend on to make democracy works.
Okay, Ms. Susan, we're going to take that commercial break. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained. Whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid, you will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
Hey Bobo, have you taken the pledge?
What pledge?
The Safe Drivers Pledge, to show your dedication to fostering a culture of responsible driving. Some of the accidents we have in Cayman could have been avoided simply by drivers being more vigilant behind the wheel.
You're right, Our actions behind the wheel can have serious consequences. Everyone should make a commitment to drive safely. Where can I take the pledge?
Visit gov.ky/road safety/pledge.
Thanks. I'll tell others to take the pledge too.
Let's make our roads safer together and say no more for 2024. Visit www.gov.ky/road safety for more information and to take the pledge.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me this morning, none other than Dr. Steve McField. Want to remind you, our phone lines are open. All of those of you who've been complaining about voting and the one person, one vote system that we adopted here in the Cayman Islands, as well as the single member constituencies, we are interested to hear your views, your voice on that. Our toll-free numbers not working. The working numbers are 949-6990, and our WhatsApp number is 925-3261. So while we're talking politics, Doc, and parliamentary systems, we see in the House of Commons in the United Kingdom, there's been some issues that have been taking place, and I will just read part of it, and then I know that you did some research on it as well, and made yourself familiar with what's happening there. So this one is this is an explainer coming from Guardian newspaper. It says, why is the Commons Speaker facing calls to quit, and what happens next? And it says, confidence in Sir Lindsay Hoyle is crumbling over his handling of a vote on calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. And it says the Speaker of the House of Commons, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, is facing calls to resign over his handling of a vote by members of Parliament on calling for a ceasefire in Gaza, which led to walkouts and claims of a stitch-up that favored the Labour Party. And what was expected to happen, says much of the anger towards Speaker Hoyle comes from the Scottish National Party, that's known by the acronym SNP, whose position as the third largest party in the Commons permits it to pick 3 opposition days every parliamentary session when it chooses the topic for debate. On this particular occasion, it had put forward a motion calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, reflecting its long-term stance. This had placed particular pressure on Labour, whose leadership had been avoiding the explicit use of this wording. Amendments had been put forward by the government which sought an immediate humanitarian pause, and by Labour, which had come up with carefully crafted wording backing a ceasefire, but in language different to the Scottish National Party's. It goes on to say that as many as 100 Labour MPs, including shadow cabinet ministers, had been expected to vote for the Scottish SNP's motion in defiance of Keir Starmer, who's of course Labour leader, after the last ceasefire vote in November triggered the biggest rebellion of his tenure. So it says what happened instead in a breach of convention, and we want to take note of that phrase, breach of convention, because folks, convention plays a hugely important role in parliamentary process. Yes, which sparked concern from none other than the Clerk of the Commons. The Speaker decided that MPs would first vote on Labour's amendment before moving on to vote on the SNP's original motion and the government's proposal. I'm going to leave it there because that's the background information, and I'm going to get you now to come in and talk about it.
Yeah, and I just let me read this little bit here, okay? What did Sir Lindsay Hoy do? It says, Hoy has been accused of bias toward his old party, Labour, for selecting their amendment on an SNP opposition day debate. Now, it says all non-government parties get the chance to bring forward motions and debates in the House of Commons on Wednesdays. On this Wednesday, it was SNP's turn. So you listen to that now. It says the Nationalists push for a vote on a ceasefire in Gaza using wording Labour would never agree with to pile pressure on Keir Starmer, who saw 56 MPs rebel against him when there was a similar vote. This led to Starmer also putting his own amendment, also calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. Now, the SNP vote was for an immediate ceasefire. And then Starmer put his own motion, his own amendment, calling for an immediate humanitarian ceasefire. And why is that? And why was that relevant? Because Starmer's motion, the SNP motion of immediate ceasefire went to the factors whether or not whatever Israel was doing was legitimate. Starmer's immediate humanitarian ceasefire went to the question whether what they did was illegitimate, but for humanitarian reasons we are going to pause the ceasefire for now. That's the difference between them. Then the government put in its own amendment, that's the poor is, urging an immediate humanitarian pause leading to a sustainable ceasefire to try and bump off the Labour amendment and force Starmer's MPs to rebel. The reason why this would likely eliminate Labour's motion is that there can normally only be a maximum of 2 amendments to an opposition debate.
Okay.
So what happened then? There is the proposition. There is the opposition's motion, in this case the SNP, and then if that fails to pass, the second amendment would be voted on. That would be the Labour motion.
Labour motion, yeah.
And as the case last night, it says if more than 2 amendments are selected and the first vote is passed, then the second amendment, which would be the SNP's motion, would not get voted on. and it was there, remember it was the SNP's day.
Yes.
To bring their motion, despite it being their opposition debate, and then it's up to the speaker to select the amendments, and in this case, he broke with precedent and picked all three for votes. The Labour won first, then the SNP, and after that, the governments. Hoyle, he said, he took the decision to allow all sides to express their views, and that was he said he was very concerned about the security of all members. And then he went on to say, I reiterate, I made a judgment call, and it didn't end up in the position where I expected it to. I regret it. I apologize to the SNP. I apologize to the House. I made a mistake. We do make mistakes, but I own up to mine. So the problem that he did, they saying that he was bullied by his own party, even though when he took the job in England, you have to resign from your party, cut all ties with your party. But they said he was bullied by his party, and he was biased in their favor, and brought their motion against the SNP motion, which was their day, and caused a confusion in the House, which was, you can't do that because of the convention against that. And that was his. So now we have some 59 MPs that have signed a motion of no confidence against him. And the Scottish National Party, the SNP's, who leader Stephen Flynn, now is going to move that motion sometimes, maybe this week, to see if he keeps his job or not. So they are very serious about the procedure in their House of Commons, and I don't know if we are that serious about it here, but they adhere to precedents, and they make sure that that the speaker understands that. And I'd just like to show you what one university professor said. He says, Dr. Thomas Eason from Aston University explained that the Speaker is the main umpire of the House of Commons. They are responsible for choosing some of the issues that get discussed in the chamber, for choosing who gets to speak and how long they get to speak, and for maintaining parliamentary rules. So that is how a university professor explains the role of the speaker in the House of Commons. We said he's a presiding officer here, but he goes and says he's an umpire.
Umpire, yes.
Umpire. He's an umpire. He's the one that makes the rules and decide who speaks and for how long and so forth.
I think I saw one, and I'll probably share that as well, talking about that the speaker must be an honest broker.
Yes, was an honest
as
broker.
well. Yeah. So it says, is this the end of the road for Hoyle? It says, while conservative sources have not ruled out standing a candidate against Hoyle in the general election, the most immediate threat to him comes from an early day motion, and we've heard about those before, early day motion tabled by the conservative backbench William Ragg. The single sentence motion stating that this House has no confidence in Mr. Speaker had been signed by 57 Conservative and SNP MPs before noon on Thursday. The government has been staying out of it, at least for now, but the attitude of Conservative whips towards the motion will be key. Off the record, one minister said that while there was, and I quote, much upset with Hoyle, they did not believe he faced an existential threat. That may yet change. So we're going to look at what happens next. We're going to take the break for our headline news. When we return, we're going to be looking at what happens next in Parliament in relation to Speaker Hoyle's position. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
radio station.
Radio Cayman is the voice of the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
7 people are injured after shots ring out at a West Bay football match. Police say shortly after 9 p.m. on Sunday, emergency teams were sent to a report of shots fired at McField. 7 people were struck in the attack and carried to the hospital in private vehicles with, quote, serious injuries. A close friend of Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny says he was about to be freed in a prisoner swap before he died. She said the Russian opposition leader was to be exchanged for Vadim Krasikov, a Russian hitman who was serving a life sentence for murder in Germany. 2 U.S. citizens currently held in Russia were also going to be part of the deal. She added that negotiations were at their final stages on February 15th. The next day, Mr. Navalny died in a cell in the prison colony in Siberia where he was being held on a 19-year sentence over charges that were widely seen as, quote, politically motivated. A member of the U.S. Air Force is in critical condition after setting himself on fire in front of the Israeli embassy in Washington. Officers from the U.S. Secret Service extinguished the flames before the man was taken to the hospital on Sunday with serious injuries. The U.S. Air Force confirmed an active duty serviceman was involved, but he's not been identified. Those are your headlines. I'm Kersley Fuller.
More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
HSA's Urgent Care Clinic is now open 7 days per week to serve you better. Visit our dedicated team at Urgent Care, Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., and weekends and public holidays, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. No appointment necessary. If you are experiencing non-life-threatening symptoms and conditions, such as the cold and flu, sprains and cuts, earaches, nausea and vomiting, visit Urgent Care's walk-in clinic at the main entrance of the Georgetown Hospital, now open every day. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. In the studio with me, Dr. Steve McField. We're discussing a situation in the United Kingdom. Of course, our parliament here in the Cayman Islands is slightly different when it comes to the speaker and the selection process. And Dr. McField, in the past you have emphasized the fact that in the UK, and we see here that the speaker, if he decides that he wants to continue to be, he or she wants to continue to be the speaker, and they have the backing of their party, as well as even the opposition party, who will choose not to run a candidate against them, so they basically are returned unelected, unopposed in their constituency. We know, for instance, that when John Burkhoff was the speaker before Sir Lindsay Hoyle, that the Conservatives threatened him and pointed out to him that they would put up a challenger in his constituency.
Yes.
They went even further than that. They made sure that he was not made a peer and to become a member of the House of Lords. That is the vengeance that they exacted, upon him for his perceived misdeeds, as well. So
I don't know how this is going to work out, because it says here that the clerk of the House of Commons wrote to Hoyle, warning him that this was breaking long-established precedent, but he went ahead and did it anyway. And say so the SMPs accuse him of influencing Hoyle to choose the Labour amendment first to avoid a rebellion against Labour, because a lot of the Labour MPs did not want an immediate ceasefire.
Yeah. So, the question asked and answered in the Guardian is what happens next. Says meetings were due to take place between Hoyle, party leaders, and whips as he sought to rebuild confidence. The motion of no confidence in Hoyle continues to collect signatures and could present a significant challenge to him if it reaches 100 by the end of Thursday. It would be a dramatic step for the government to authorize a heave against Hoyle, particularly as Labour continues to support him. But it may also suit Rishi Sunak, who's the Prime Minister, to sit above the fray and tacitly allow backbench Conservative members of Parliament to vent their frustration for a few days on some other than him. Expect Hoyle also to come in for a kicking in the Conservative supporting press over the coming days. While he may weather this crisis, the coming months may prove to be wearing for the Speaker as he limps on towards the general election. So
if he comes to the general election and he doesn't have the support of the House, of the Speaker of the House, he doesn't have the support of the Commons, but he still wants to be Speaker, he has to have the support of the House of Commons. Even though he wants to remain Speaker, they cannot abide by the established precedent and run someone against him in his constituency and get him out of there if they don't have enough votes for a vote of no confidence in him between now and then. So they take they take these procedures very, very seriously in their House of Commons.
Yeah, I think something has transpired since, but this was 22 hours ago from the Guardian, and we will take a look into that. Okay, here for instance it says Sir Lindsay has some vocal champions such as the widely respected Tory Sir Charles Walker. It says in the explicatory and emotional statement that Speaker Hoyle made later in the week, he justified his controversial ruling by saying that his main concern had been for the safety of parliamentarians who might have been at risk if they had been denied the opportunity to vote for the Labour position on a ceasefire. He's quoted as saying, "I never ever want to go through a situation where I pick up a phone to find a friend on whatever side has been murdered by a terrorist. I also do not want another attack on this house. Safety is not a trivial concern. In recent memory, extremists have murdered 2 MPs, that is Labour's Joe Cox and Sir David Ames of the Conservatives, and taken the life of PC Keith Palmer, a police officer manning the main gate. I found the Speaker's explanation heartfelt. So do many MPs to whom I have spoken. But among others, in their ranks, it has made his situation more precarious. They say he should not be making and admitting to making rulings under the influence of threats of violence towards MPs. It was dangerous, some argue, to imply that extremists can have an effect on Commons proceedings because it will encourage more attempts to intimidate parliamentarians. That's a very valid point. Then it goes on to say Sir Lindsay has some vocal champions, such as the widely respected Tory Sir Charles Walker, who says he will fight for him with every fibre and breath in my body. The Speaker's chances of survival may also be improved by the calculation of ministers that the best way for them to exploit this affair is to depict Sir Lindsay not as the villain, but as the victim of labor machinations that put him in an impossible position. The worry for him is that his apologies have not appeased those who are out to get him. By close of play on Friday, more than 70 MPs, a combination of SNPs and Conservatives, had signed a motion expressing no confidence. So it looks like they're still working towards getting to that 100. Now, we shouldn't forget the fact that elections are likely to going to take place in the UK. Is it this year or next year?
I think it's this year.
Yeah, I'll double check that. And no doubt, there will be persons who are thinking about the position, the speaker's position, and there may be some who are already juggling, for that position. And as a result, like you said, they're not putting it past anyone that this may not have been a ruse to get the speaker in trouble anyway, by Labour putting forward their version, their motion, knowing quite well that the it was the SNP's day to do so. Because what we saw after that was that the Conservatives, they withdrew their motion. So they said, let's leave it and let them them fight it out as well. Okay.
Yes.
Doc?
So didn't we have something else? Didn't we have something similar to that here some time ago, where the speaker decided to entertain a certain motion against another motion? Or something similar to that?
We had, was it motion 390 or something like that at one point in time? That was...
No, motion 390 was where the opposition had the majority in Parliament on their side. And they could not get any government bills through.
Right.
And the opposition and the ex-official members were not allowed to, at that time, were not allowed to vote on money bills in Parliament. And the Governor Scott changed that and allowed the three ex-official members, I think it was in the Parliament then, to vote with the other members of the legislative assembly, and they got their remedy and did not have to go to a general election. You remember that there was it was going to go into a constitutional crisis with the opposition blocking everything that the government wanted to do, and the government had brought their budget, their bills, I think, and they couldn't get it passed. And you remember Scott changed that.
Yes.
Alan Scott.
Yes. So looking at the general elections in the United Kingdom, when is the latest that the next general election could be held? And it says that the maximum term of a parliament is 5 years.
Yes.
Maximum term is 5 years. And that is as a result of the Dissolution and Calling of Parliament Act 2022, which revived the power of the monarch to dissolve Parliament at the request of the Prime Minister of the day. So it goes on to say that the maximum term of a Parliament is 5 years from the date on which it first met. The current Parliament first met on Tuesday, the 17th of December 2019, and will automatically dissolve on Tuesday, the 17th of December 2024, unless it has been dissolved sooner by the King. polling day would be expected to take place 25 days later. 25 days.
Yes.
Unlike ours, which is a smaller jurisdiction but a
it's
longer
six
period of
weeks.
time. Yes.
6
yes.
weeks. 6 weeks.
Not counting weekends or any bank holiday that falls within that period. Now, we're going to take a break. When we return, we know that right now, Labor is on a roll. The last two local elections, not local elections, these were, for parliamentary seats. They lost. Now, some are assigning that to various things, but after the break, we can come back and talk a little bit about that as well. Folks, please stay tuned for the record. We'll be back shortly.
At Doctor's Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctor's Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
At Branso's Home Gallery, we believe in love at first sight, especially when it comes to closets. And we're spreading the love by offering 15% off on custom closets throughout the month of February. Let our experts design the closet you've been dreaming of, a functional space that's perfect for you. Save 15% on all custom closets this February at Brand Source Custom Closets. You dream it, we'll design it and build it. Visit Ranso's Home Gallery today for a free in-store consultation. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Phone 623-6774.
For the Record with Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. It is my pleasure to have in the studio with me this morning none other than Dr. Steve McField. We're talking a little bit about parliamentary procedures, what's taken place in the United Kingdom as well. And earlier we spoke about the situation that the House of Commons Speaker, Sir Lindsay Hoyle, faces as a result of decisions that he made. And he, of course, justified his decision on the basis that he wanted to protect his parliamentarians. He didn't want to see parliamentarians being hurt. And of course, you heard one commentary in relation to that to say that that was a dangerous view to take, or route to take, simply because then you're letting the quote-unquote terrorists determine, what Parliament does and what Parliament does not do as well. So that is extremely important. So talking about the Labour and the Conservatives as well. Conservatives, they have made a mess of things. They're like the Republicans in the United States, where it took them so long to choose a speaker, and when they did, he didn't last long. They have another speaker now, and they're basically not governing at this point in time. The Tories in the UK, I would say, very similar. And if they were to go to the polls at this point in time, I don't see them gaining the majority to form the government in the United Kingdom, as well. Now, the most recent by-elections, there were two. They had one in Wellington, the Wellington by-election, and the Kingswood by-election. And we saw margins in the thousands. Like I think in one particular case it was something like the Conservatives had won by a margin of like about 18,000 votes in the last election, and they lost those elections as well. And so if you were to have an election now, Labour would not win. I mean, sorry, Labour would probably win. Now, some people have ascribed the fact that I think there may have been bad weather in the UK, at the time, as well as the fact that the turnout was very low, and you cannot necessarily gauge what may happen in the future when you have a low turnout of voters, because those who didn't turn out, you don't know what's going to happen with them. Over to you, Doc.
Well, that brings me to the fact then that do you think that this war in Gaza then has a international repercussions on many different parliaments, even the Congress in the United States too?
No question about that. We see, for instance, in Michigan,
yes,
what's her name, Rashida Tlaib. She has now the primary that is going to be taking place in Michigan. She has urged the voters there to, I forget the term that is used, I'll find it, but basically, not to register a vote for
Biden,
even though he's going to win anyway. I think that has future repercussions as well, because Michigan, probably within the United States, has the largest population of Arab Americans.
Yes.
And many of them have been extremely critical of the Biden administration because of what they see as the U.S. allowing Israel to do in Gaza. Now, how they and this includes young voters, college age voters as well. Now, the question is, when election day comes around, not primary, but election, the general election in the presidential election in the U.S., when that comes, question is, if they're not going to vote for a candidate other than Biden, who would be Trump or an independent, are they going to stay home and not vote at all, and the impact that would have? And of course, Michigan is one of those swing states.
Yeah, even the mayor of Michigan is Palestinian descent.
Yeah. So definitely will have repercussions in especially the swing states, the ones that are considered to be purple, at this point in time, what will happen with them as well. So closer to home.
Yes.
We had the leader of the opposition, and we had his deputy in the studio with me on Wednesday, and they spoke about the parliamentary questions that are being asked by them. And of course, our speaker, at least that part of it we have correct, in terms of speaker is not allowed to put questions, on his own, but he will get his party colleagues to do it for him. Now, there's nowhere in our Constitution or in our standing orders that I am aware, and I stand to be corrected, and if my good friend, former representative from East End is listening in, he may want to chime in one way or the other on this, but I am not sure that there's any, other than talking about speaker being impartial and everything. It doesn't speak to party politics and, and what is done there. Because to me, even getting a member of your party to ask questions on your behalf, I think that is sort of stretching it in
I was just going to say
in itself.
I was just going to say that stretches in itself that
Yeah.
you asking that your speaker is asking his colleagues that he from his party to put question in his heart when he's supposed to be separating himself from his party altogether.
Right. Or unless they know, unless they are aware of issues that he has an interest in, that they're raising them, as opposed to him prompting them to ask the question. We do have a caller. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Hello, good morning, Mr. O.C. Good morning, Dr. McField.
Good morning.
My name is Quincy Brown. Thank you for taking my call. Closer to home, as the nation awakes this morning to very sad news of gun violence in West Bay, I think we all should be very concerned. We cannot allow thugs and would-be bad boys to send this nation into a state of shock as we're doing this morning. I'll just be brief by saying I was taking a casual walk probably about a month ago when a car pulls up alongside me. Now, I do not know the man driving, but he knew me. He said, Quincy, we got to ensure that we rise the crime. And he speeds off.
Wow.
We need, as a community, because a country is not only what it does, a country is what it tolerates. Can you imagine the families at that game last night who must have been in shock? We are not going to allow this to happen. We must band together as a community. We need to bring this gun violence to an end. Now, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but we cannot remain silent. And you can hear the fear even in my voice, because who is safe? Who will be next? Thanks for taking my call.
Caller, before you go, don't go yet. Doc has a question, and I have something to ask as well.
So what happened last night, Quincy, in West Bay?
I think the Royal Cayman Islands Police Service. He's gone.
I am no longer a paid journalist in this country. I'm sure you will hear the news. The Cayman Compass is reporting. What happened was totally terrible and unacceptable, and it has sent shock waves through the West Bay community and, by extension, Grand Cayman. The question is, where is next? Who is next? Gun violence must not be tolerated. That's all I'm saying.
Well, Quincy, we spoke on this radio show many years, some years now, and I have been speaking about this many years ago. I said then, and I said now, and I will continue saying it as long as I breath from my body and as long as I'm able to speak, that we need to caulk our borders. We need to caulk our borders up tight, and we do not need to let anyone in our borders unless we know exactly who they are and what they come for and what they are about. If we had been doing that, Quincy, selecting the kind of people who come and what they can do in our country, we would have been better off. But as I see it, we have a wide open border. Anyone can come at any time of the night, any time of the day, and can bring whatever they want to bring in. And by the time that we detect that they are here illegally or legally and they're doing something in the border, it's become too late. And we need to have a security of our own, especially of our own people, who has an interest in our own country. Because you cannot expect someone who's not born and bred and whose navel string are not buried here to have the kind of interest in my country that they would have in theirs. And that's a problem that we have. We're so lackadaisical and trust to everybody that we are the laughing stock now of probably the criminal elements, because we were so conservative in the past and we were so successful in the past. Now it look like they have condemned us now, deemed us now to be the outcasts in the Caribbean, and like some of them are. And we need leadership. We need the ability to lead and to lead vigilantly. Unless we do that, Quincy, every week you will hear from one week to the next, from one day to the next. And we need to we need to come to the reality that we are not alone in this country like we were before, and that there are people here who are bent on destroying our democracy.
And, Dr. McField, you make salient points as you always do. You're a man, you're well-read, you're astute with what's going on. And the truth of the matter is, every time we have an illegal boat come in with drugs, the guns are coming in at the same time. My concern is this, though. Already here at home, amongst our homegrown criminals, there are too many illegal guns on the street, and anybody who's a part of a gang knows exactly where to find that gun if needed. Houston, we have a problem.
Other question for you, Quincy, before you go. Do you think that some drastic action needs to be taken in relation to this situation with the guns? We see, okay, he's gone. Let's take the commercial break, and then when we return, I'll talk more about it. Folks, please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Are you feeling sick but don't feel ill enough to go to the doctor? Ask your pharmacist for advice. Here at West Bay Pharmacy, our pharmacists have been trained to offer helpful, easy to understand advice on the treatment of everyday minor ailments for yourself and all the family. Anything from headaches, cough and sore throat, to cold sores, our pharmacists will know when medical help is needed and will not hesitate to refer you to your doctor if your symptoms demand it. Like doctors, our pharmacists have a professional code, which means all personal information you give them will be treated in the strictest confidence. Visit us today at West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. I go and flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, Panama, and child, they now have Barbados. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old girl.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman will be holding a prostate and colon cancer and diabetes awareness meeting at the Seafarers Hall in Prospect on Wednesday, 28 February from 7 to 9 p.m. Presentations and free PSA testing will be done by HSA and Royal Medical and Wellness Center. For more information on prostate and colon cancer and diabetes awareness, join the Lions Club of Grand Cayman on Wednesday, 28 February, 7 to 9 p.m. at the Seafarers Hall, located in Prospect.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning and welcome back to For the Record. We have a caller. Before we go to the caller, though, Doc, we see, for instance, that in Jamaica, the government, and they have done this in several parishes as well, several areas, they have declared what is called an SOE,
State of
State
Emergency.
of Public Emergency. Of course, they use the army to assist them as well. Something that you would not see, at least not under a normal presidency in the United States. They never use their armed forces for domestic purposes.
And I don't believe in them here either.
Yeah.
I don't believe in that at all.
Jamaica-
It means that you have lost control of control.
Yes, yeah.
When that happened, you've lost control of control.
And then you're subjecting your
Yes.
your normal citizens then to the powers of the forces that you have designed to combat external forces, not
and taking
internal
their civil
forces.
liberties.
Yes,
taking their civil liberties.
and of course, so Jamaica, along with the Jamaica Constabulary Force, they use the Jamaica Defense Force for that purpose as well. Some people may view it as being effective. Some people may say it is not that effective. But the question is, do we need?
I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that at all.
Now, as a lawyer, Doc, and I'll ask the question. We'll take the call, and then you can
You
answer
take the caller
it
first.
as well. Should the government, should the police seek to have laws amended to such a point that gives them additional powers to hold that will restrict some civil liberties of known criminals?
No, I don't think so. No,
You know, as a lawyer, you don't.
I don't
Okay.
believe in that at all.
Okay, let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Good morning, OC, and good morning to the Honorable Doctor.
Good morning.
Good morning, Lord Graham.
Okay. The chickens are coming home to roost, and it's for the fact of what Dr. McField touched on just now. We're too quick to accept everybody that jump off the plane and trust them to do certain things for us. Like he said, we need to start taking control of our own defense, our own people that is generational Caymanian in those positions that have love for the country. Remember now, the people that we have doing our securities around the island, you can see them come from a country that is almost a failed state where crime is concerned. And the only people that are responsible for the crime that's happening in those areas and those various islands is the people from there themselves. So if they mash up their country, what makes you think they wouldn't mash yours up? And if we got people here for security coming from those places, it got to be a serious crime to get their attention, because where they come from, little crimes are that's a norm. That's a norm for them. So they'll bypass that, and when you know, the chickens come home to roost because their crime has escalated and become much greater. We have some of the most sophisticated boats, speedboat, whatever it is you want to call them. And tell me how many times that you heard that they intercept boats that are coming in and bringing these guns and drugs. You always hear that a boat was found on the beach in East End, a canoe, or a boat was found in breakers, or it came in Bacchus or somewhere. But nobody intercepted out to sea, or nobody finds the drug. That always the canoe is empty when they get there. Do you think that they made that voyage just to bring an empty boat here? And another thing, we have a firearm unit. They're always up and down the road making noise, and with blue lights on, you can see them a mile coming. And how many times you heard that they went out and did a major operation and got guns off the street? It always after the fact that a shooting take place, then we got a helicopter in the air, and we got these guys running around with these guns. We got too much gun element on the island, right straight up from the police department. They will go to a deli to get food, and they got the gun down on the side like Billy the Kid. We're not used to that. And then we get the tourist department get on these ads talking about Cayman being crime free, and the police don't carry guns. So what's those things I see they got on these guys? And most of the people that have the guns, I don't even know them. We don't even know them. Look at the security at the admin building, where all our top officials are housed. They're being guarded by people we don't even know. So it's time for us to take control.
Lord Graham, it's not enough just to change one commissioner for an next. It's not enough to change that. What we need is constitutional responsibility for our security, our own security ourselves. That's a problem that we have. We do not have constitutional responsibility for our own security. That should be a elected minister's job, to protect his own people. You cannot leave that to some people who do not have any ties other than they administering the country here. The problem, we had a similar problem that started in the 1980s when we had the de facto leader, Jim Borden and his crew, under the unity team government. And we had the same things happening. And they took the bull by the horn. They formed something called a Hope. I think it was Hope Foundation. I think it was something like that. And they brought in undercover investigators from different jurisdictions. And they sat them down and they said, this is what we want you to do. We want you to get a report from every district in this country, and we want you to bring it to us. And we want to have the identity of all the people who are responsible for the lack of security in our country, and we want to identify them who are bent on destroying our country through criminality. And that's what they did. And as a result of that, a lot of people in high places lost their jobs, and a lot of people, criminals, had to go underground, and a lot of them left the island. And when you go and look at the, what's it called again, Orrett, that report that the government puts out, the Gazette.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at the Gazette, you'd see how many people were on the prohibited list and on the stop list that could not come back to this country. When you look at that, and that's what we need to do again. We need to do that. We need to have people who are interested in our safety and security. As it is now, we have people who are just employed, and most of them are just employed for the money that they can get because that is one of the highest dollars in the world. But otherwise, they're not really interested in our safety and security at all.
Great caller.
Doc, now that you touch on prohibited people, I understand though that there's some amendment where people who have been prohibited from coming to the country can actually now come on some special visit. Are you aware of that?
That has always been in place.
That's always been in place.
The immigration law makes provisions for the cabinet to grant, governor and cabinet to grant an entry permit to someone who otherwise is a prohibited immigrant to return to the Cayman Islands for specific purposes.
And for specific time, either 3 days or 2 days or 2 weeks or 1 week or whatever.
And that person would be monitored while they're visiting?
Yes.
Really?
The ones that I did, they were monitored. In fact, the ones that I did, they were. It had to do with a land transaction fraud, and the person was allowed to come here from Canada. And on his arrival at the airport, he was escorted by Mr. Warner Kneebanks, who was then the chief inspector in the police force, and Mr. Bostock. And he was not allowed to go within 300 yards of the land registry, although it was his problem was a fraud. Was a fraud in that land that they say he had committed. So that is how it was in those days.
Yeah,
that was back when real Caymanians was in charge.
That's right. That's when we were. That's when we were in control of control.
When we was in control of control.
That's right.
Which was really a lot better back then than what it is. We can't even say, Doc, that we are going backwards, because if we're going backwards, we would be better.
Yes, I guess so.
Yeah. Of course, caller, they say careful what you wish for.
Yes.
Because at this point in time, to a certain extent, we can say, well, policing still falls under the United Kingdom. And there's always that proverbial finger that you can point, while at the same time Dr. McField is advocating for the fact that we should have, control, over, all of that, or, some of that to a certain extent in terms of just merely funding.
Merely funding and giving money
and the responsibility lies elsewhere. But we'll see. Caller, I'm going to ask you to leave us there so we can take our last commercial break. I do have someone who has written in agreeing with Dr. McField's point on slack border control, and I will share that with our listening and viewing audience when we return. So don't change that dial. Please stay tuned. For the record, we'll be back shortly.
Since March 2004, West Bay Pharmacy has kept their doors open to the local communities, even before, during, and after Hurricane Ivan. At West Bay Pharmacy, our staff provides so much more than pharmaceutical excellence. From the moment you walk through our doors to completing your cash out, our staff will have put your healthcare concerns at ease. We would like to take this moment to thank our loyal friends and customers. To us at West Bay Pharmacy, our patients are our primary concern. We provide thorough background checks and precise calculations to ensure your medical safety. Thank you for being a part of our family and for choosing West Bay Pharmacy, where we care about your health.
Ladies and gentlemen, have you heard the news? Digicel is back with exciting offers that are too good to resist. Activate one of our brand new prepaid or postpaid plans today and experience telecommunications like never before. With more data, dedicated entertainment options like Netflix, YouTube, Spotify, and endless social text data for all your favorite platforms. Digicel is here to make sure you stay connected and entertained. Whether you are on a prepaid or postpaid, you will also enjoy dedicated roaming data for the USA, Canada, and the Caribbean. It's all about value, and Digicel has got you covered.
At Branso's Home Gallery, we believe in love at first sight, especially when it comes to closets. And we're spreading the love by offering 15% off on custom closets throughout the month of February. Let our experts design the closet you've been dreaming of, a functional space that's perfect for you. Save 15% on all custom closets this February at Branso's Custom Closets. You dream it, we'll design it and build it. Visit Ranso's Home Gallery today for a free in-store consultation. Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park. Phone 623-6774.
With Orrett Connor.
Good morning. Welcome back to For the Record. One of our listeners has written and said, I agree with Mr. McField's point on slack border control. The Coast Guard with customs service needs to be beefed up for water-based day and night patrols all day and night. Can you please ask publicly for the Premier and the Commissioner of Police and to call for an immediate firearms/gun amnesty program to get as many of these guns off the streets, as well as a warning to those that are caught with an illegal firearm. I would say that they have tried amnesties in the past and they have been extremely unsuccessful. Yes. In most jurisdictions, you find that it is those amnesties are unsuccessful. You get people, surrendering old firearms that they had that are no longer operable and things of that nature. But certainly, and we really don't know what Customs and the Royal Cayman Islands Police are doing as far as patrolling is concerned. Because if we know that, then everybody else knows it as well. So we can't assume that they're not doing anything. Before we grab the caller, I just want to take the opportunity to point out also, and I mentioned this before, that the new Commissioner of Police has issued his strategic policy and in the area of preventing and tackling crime. He says disrupt and investigate serious and organized crimes, tackle firearms, drugs, violent and gang-related crimes, confront antisocial behavior, neighborhood and property crimes, tackle illicit finance and financial crimes, combat cyber crimes, cyber-enabled crimes, and online scams, collaborate with our partners to secure our borders. Let's grab the caller. Caller, good morning. Welcome to For the Record.
Yeah, good morning, Ossie, and to you, Dr. Steve.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sir.
Good morning.
I'm just hoping what took place last night, and gentlemen, is a wake-up call to this country to start and do something, because it seems like voicing your opinion and complaining it goes in deaf ears, right? Well, see, quick question for you. How many officers do we have in this country? Police officers, that is.
It's 300 and something plus their support system, support staff. Nearly 500.
Nearly 500.
Yeah, 400. It's over 400 with the support staff.
Well, you know, I drive around the road. I'm on the road quite a bit, and the police presence that I see is so few and far apart. And before you can see them, you see this little light up on top of the car. So, Peter, if you're doing anything, stop. The police is coming, right? I don't know whose idea that was, but sometimes they started with that. The criminals just run wild because they know exactly that they're going to see a light when you come in. They have no more fear. And OC, quick question again for you. Are these police officers working from home?
Well,
because they're not on the streets.
But caller, you asked a question, so I'm going to answer it. But remember now that policing involves many areas. While you may have street patrols, that is one section, but there's so many other aspects of policing that we can't just pin it on seeing a police officer on the street. Caller, are you there?
You know this. Yes, I'm here. Oh, see, you're not educating me in any way. I know that. You know it. Everybody know it, right? But we have to stop finding excuses, because every time we go down this road, it's excuse for this, excuse for that. The police have a job to do. So I will not accept any kind of excuse. You know, like I said, there's all different parts of the police department that they have to tackle different jobs.
Precisely.
We know that. Everybody knows that, right? So that is no excuse. If we need more police, we need to get more police. If we got too many, get rid of some.
So you would like to see like in some jurisdictions where you have a policeman on every corner, every street corner.
I didn't say that, boy.
Well, tell me what is it that you would like to see then?
I would like to see more present, more command.
How much more? How much more?
Oh, see, I don't have that answer. I can give you a number, but, you know, that's not crucial at this point in time. I just want to see more, because what I'm seeing right now is none. So even 2, 3, 4, 5,
okay, got you.
Whatever the numbers is.
Got you. Okay.
All right. I just want to see more. The oldest one I see is mostly the most police present I see is the dancing police downtown.
Mm-hmm.
And where's the 300 plus officers that supposed to be doing their job in this country and letting this country go to hell?
See, you're saying to me that you recognize that there are other aspects of policing, but you're returning to the same point again about the 300 officers and not seeing them. That's why I asked you the question that I asked you.
Jose, OC, you got the traffic department. All right.
Department.
How many police are in the how many police represent the traffic department?
Very little. Maybe I don't see many in traffic. I don't see any regulation of traffic by the police on a daily basis, hourly basis.
That is my point. If it's the traffic department that is supposed to be doing their job, a certain part of the aspects of the policing, then they do have enough manpower to do their job, and then you pass on to another department, or whatever the case may be. That's how it's supposed to work. But if you got a traffic department that got 4 or 5 police, but a population is going close to 100,000, we're probably there right now, for what I know. I mean, how are you going to get 6 or 7 policing 100,000 people on the road?
And sir, in other jurisdictions, you have security police. So you have FBI. You have all different kind of police in Jamaica. Some times ago, I don't know if they probably have disbanded. They have the flying squad. You didn't know who they were. They were only answerable to one person. They come in and they sign out. They got their assignments. They went out. And I can tell you in those days, in the 1960s and 70s in Jamaica, when they went out, they knew who they were looking for, and they found their people. They changed all that. They changed all that up. And what we have done here, 2 decades ago, I said that we should have a border control, that when a toilet flush in our waters, we should know who flushed the toilet and who the toilet belonged to. Because of how vulnerable we are. We did nothing about it. And I saw that over 20 years ago when I was running for election with myself and Robert Borden. That was one of my platforms. Oh, they say I'm a fool, and so forth, so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Well, what we need is special police who are dedicated to this country, who's love for this country, and we need to send them off to other countries to get the training, and they can come back, and they could be driving a bus, they could have a little shop in West Bay, they could have whatever, and you don't know who they are. And you have to do what Jim Borden did in the 1980s. We have them all over. And this old traditional policing that they brought here in the 1990s, for instance, the discipline and the discipline and the fear that people had in the police has gone. I remember when we saw a guy in khaki. You remember those days?
Yeah.
When the guy in khaki and he had his little staff under his arm. Or he said he's an inspector. And you believe when they came here and they saw all of that, they changed everybody to the same uniform. You don't know who is the inspector, you don't know who is the constable, and so nobody has any respect for anybody, any of them.
Okay, in caller in the police commissioner's strategic plan says here from a monthly operating context, 384 uniformed officers, 104 civilian staff, so that's 488 in total. In the makeup of those, 36% are female and 64% are male as well. And I would encourage you to look at the strategic plan that the police commissioner has put forward, and they provide you with many statistics in relation to, for instance, motor vehicle incidents per month, 337, DUI arrest 23, speeding tickets 324, public order crimes 80, incidents of loud music 66, children protection referrals 107 to 1, domestic violence referrals 160, visitors per month 194,479. So there are lots of statistics there that the police put out. So while we may have our interpretation and our views in terms of what the police are doing, we need to look at the data as well. I know some people will say we need to look at the data, but we need to look at the realities also. Caller, I want to give you an opportunity for some last words. Go right ahead.
Very much. Oh, see, was there any police present down there at the game last night?
No idea. No idea.
No idea. You know, maybe that's something you can investigate, because, I mean, what is happening, gentlemen, has to stop, and it has to stop like yesterday. And what I need is more Caymanians coming on to this radio station and voicing their opinion, their frustration, and everything else. So we as Caymanians right now, we need to get together as one and say enough is enough. Mm-hmm. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, caller. Quick closing comments from you, Doc.
Well, what we need also is police presence on a highway. they talk about this, you were reading statistics about how many speeding tickets. You don't need to give out speeding tickets if people are not speeding. And people are speeding because they have an open road. It's just like an open seaway to the country. They have open highways. They can do whatever they want to do. There's no police presence there on the highway to stop them from speed. If there were police presence in the morning, midday, in the evening, and in the night, they wouldn't be speeding on the road, and we wouldn't have to give out these tickets.
So you're speaking more of a prevention, as a deterrent, as opposed to reaction
prevention.
After. Yeah. Okay, got you.
Prevention.
Got you okay. Doc, I want to thank you. Thank you very much for being here, folks. I want to thank all of you as well, those who participated, those who just listened and absorbed all of it as well. I remind you that we are brothers and our sisters keepers. There is always someone out there who's less fortunate than we are, and I ask you to extend a helping hand to them. If you can't do that, then I suggest you donate to a worthy charity, because we always want to consider those who need, not necessarily those who want or even those who crave. So have a great day. Continue to support your radio station, Radio Cayman. Remember that Parliament, the proceedings, Ms. Susan being carried live on Radio Cayman as well. Join Sterling Dwayne Banks at 12:15 for Talk Today. And as usual, we ask the good Lord to bless these three beautiful, wonderful Cayman Islands.
For the record, proudly brought to you by
Brand Source Home Gallery, inspiring luxury, and JN Money.
From abroad to yard.
Fast, affordable, convenient. Doctor's Hospital. Peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctor's Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And now, Barbados. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
Covering Little Cayman, Cayman Bride.
Cover me. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.